Most people think loving a dog well is about the big things: the expensive food, the long walks, the toys. But the research tells a different story. 7 small moments happen in your house every single day that register in your dog's brain more than any of that. And most people are almost doing them right. 1. Hold eye contact. Every time you hold soft eye contact with your dog and they hold it back, something remarkable happens in both of you at exactly the same time. In 2015, a team at Azabu University in Japan published a study in the journal Science. They measured levels of the bonding neurochemical oxytocin in 30 dog-owner pairs during interaction. When dogs and owners engaged in sustained mutual gaze, oxytocin increased in both simultaneously. Across species, the same neurochemical, the same moment. Then the researchers tested wolves raised by humans using the exact same protocol. The oxytocin feedback loop didn't activate. This appears to be a co-evolved biological mechanism unique to dogs and humans. When your dog looks into your eyes, don't immediately glance away. Hold that gaze softly for a few seconds. You're participating in a measurable biochemical exchange that no other species on Earth shares with humans. 2. Talk to them with the right words. The voice you use with your dog, that higher-pitched, warmer register you would probably never use in public, is doing real neurological work. But there's one detail most people miss, and it changes the entire picture. Researchers at the University of York tested 37 adult dogs in 2018. They played recordings using dog-directed speech with dog-relevant words. Then they played the same warm vocal prosody with completely unrelated words. Finally, they played normal adult speech. Dogs approached the speaker and spent significantly more time nearby in only one condition: when the warm tone was paired with words that actually had doc-tf and docted, had meaning to them. The emotional tone matters, but the words matter just as much. A 2016 fMRI study confirmed this. When 13 awake dogs listened to spoken recordings inside a brain scanner, their brains processed familiar words with a left hemisphere language processing bias, much like humans do. The brain's reward circuitry became highly active only when both the words and the emotional tone carried positive meaning at the same time. Your dog isn't responding to your voice alone. They're processing your words and your tone together. And it's that combination that determines whether the brain's reward system activates at all. 3. Greet them when you come home. For years, popular advice about separation anxiety suggested ignoring your dog when you walk through the door. Don't reward the excitement. Keep arrivals calm and neutral. The idea was that calm greetings would create calmer dogs. But a survey of nearly 2,000 dog owners published in 2021 found something that challenged that advice. Owners of dogs with separation-related problems actually reported using lower arousal greetings than owners whose dogs didn't struggle with separation. The calmer the greeting, the more severe the separation issues tended to be. The advice had the cause and effect almost completely backwards. A 2014 study measuring both oxytocin and the primary stress hormone cortisol during reunions found that physical contact combined with verbal greeting was the only condition that kept oxytocin elevated even after the interaction had ended. It's worth noting those were laboratory dogs rather than family pets, but the real-world survey involving nearly 2,000 owners pointed in the same direction. When you come home, kneel down, say their name, touch them. You only have a short window before that hormonal moment passes. 4. Let them lead with their nose. Most walks are designed around human convenience, a certain distance, a certain pace. The dog moving beside us at whatever speed keeps the route efficient. From your dog's perspective, that's closer to being escorted than exploring. In 2019, researchers assigned 20 dogs into 2 different groups for 2 weeks. One group practiced structured heel work. The other spent time doing nose work, following scents, searching freely, and choosing where to stop and for how long. Before and after the study, every dog completed a validated cognitive bias assessment, which measures whether an animal interprets uncertain situations more optimistically or more pessimistically. The nosework dogs became measurably more optimistic. The heelwork dogs showed no meaningful change. Same amount of time. Completely different psychological outcome. Giving dogs the freedom to use their sense of smell appears to engage the brain's dopaminergic reward system in ways that structured walking simply doesn't. On at least one walk today, follow your dog's nose instead of your own route. You may cover less ground, but your dog is far more likely to finish that walk in a healthier emotional state. 5. Let them win. There's a widely held belief that you should always win at tug-of-war. If the dog wins, the thinking goes, they'll become harder to manage. The game teaches them they're in charge. In 2002, researchers tested this idea directly with 14 golden retrievers. The dogs completed 20 tug sessions where they always won, and another 20 where they always lost. The researchers found that dominance-related behavior was completely unaffected by who won the game. What did change? Obedient attentiveness increased after play regardless of the outcome, and the most playful dogs actually showed greater focus toward their owners after the sessions where they won. There's another finding that's worth knowing. A separate study examining handler behavior during play found that warm verbal praise and physical affection consistently predicted lower levels of the primary stress hormone cortisol. Afterward, disciplinary behavior during the same game predicted the opposite, a measurable rise in cortisol. In other words, how you show up during the game matters far more than who walks away with the rope. 6. 3 minutes of training before meals. What happens inside your dog's brain when you praise them may completely change the way you think about training. In a 2016 fMRI study, 15 dogs were trained to associate two different symbols. One predicted food, the other predicted verbal praise from their owner. For most of the dogs, the caudate nucleus, a key reward processing region of the brain, responded just as strongly to praise as it did to food. For some dogs, it responded even more strongly to praise than to food. Those same dogs were later given a choice: run toward food or run toward their owner. The dogs whose reward centers responded more strongly to praise consistently chose their owner instead. The method of training matters even more than the amount of time you spend doing it. Dogs trained with aversive, punishment-based methods showed significantly higher cortisol levels during training sessions. They also displayed more pessimistic responses in behavioral testing outside the training environment, suggesting that the stress carried over into everyday life. Dogs trained with positive reinforcement were calmer, more confident, and more strongly bonded to their owners. Before one meal each day, spend just 3 minutes practicing simple behaviors with clear feedback and genuine praise. Your dog's brain doesn't treat praise as just encouragement. For many dogs, it functions as a primary biological reward, and those rewards accumulate over time. 7. Sit with them and do nothing. The last one will probably surprise you, because it requires doing absolutely nothing at all. A study involving newly sheltered dogs compared 3 different conditions: a person simply sitting quietly in the same room, gentle petting, and active play. All 3 conditions produced nearly identical reductions in the primary stress hormone cortisol compared with dogs left alone. Simply sharing the same space without interacting was almost as effective as physical touch. But a 2025 study adds another layer to this that changes the picture entirely. Researchers followed 85 dog-owner pairs and measured cortisol levels in both over time. The strongest predictor of elevated cortisol in dogs wasn't whether the owner had a stressful job, it was work-related rumination, the inability to mentally leave work behind after arriving home. The dog's stress closely tracked the owner's internal mental state, not just their outward behavior. Which means this final habit isn't really about sitting beside your dog, it's about where your mind is while you're sitting there. Once a day, close the laptop, put the phone down, take a breath, and simply be present in the room. Your dog is already reading your emotional state. The only question is what they're finding. Outrow. Here's the thing about all 7 of these habits. None of them require expensive equipment, none of them take hours every day, and none of them demand a complete overhaul of your routine. It's eye contact held just a little longer, a greeting filled with genuine warmth, a walk where you follow their nose instead of your own schedule, a few minutes of positive training before dinner, or simply sitting together without distractions. The relationship your dog builds with you is written in biology, in oxytocin, in cortisol, in the activation of reward circuits that can respond to your voice almost like food. It's measurable, it's scientific, and it's quietly built, or quietly eroded, through moments that seem too ordinary to matter. If this changed the way you think about the little things, subscribe to Inside Out Dog Understanding and leave a comment below. Which one of these are you going to try first?